Hey, what is up everybody? Welcome back. So today, we are just chilling, hanging out in Minecraft, while I read some wild Reddit stories to you guys. If you are new here, basically I just vibe in my Minecraft world, do some building, gather some stuff, and read through these insane posts people write online. It is honestly one of my favorite things to do, and I am glad you guys are here for it. Grab a snack, get comfortable, and let us get into it. So, the first story is called, "Am I the Asshole for Not Consoling My Boyfriend Because I Make More Money?" And it was posted by a woman named Amelia on the Am I the Asshole subreddit. So, Amelia is in her mid-30s. She makes a really good amount of money, like tens of thousands of dollars a month from her business. But she does not live extravagantly or anything. She is pretty low-key about it. Her boyfriend of 5 months works part-time at a farm store making $15 an hour. So there is definitely a gap there. One day they are hanging out and he watches her pay a $5,000 invoice for her business, and he just completely shuts down. He goes distant for days. When she finally asks what is wrong, he tells her he feels bad because she sees more money regularly than he makes in an entire year. He says he feels less of a man because of it. So, Amelia tries to handle it gently. She tells him, "Look, just because I make more money does not make you a loser. I respect what you do. You are important to your community." She even says she might have made him feel that way and apologizes for that. But she also tells him she is not going to lie about her income or make herself smaller to protect his ego, and honestly, fair point. Then she tries to reassure him by saying working at a farm store is manly, which I get the intention, but that probably did not land the way she wanted it to. He ends up crying. She leaves his house. Now things are tense between them. Okay, so here is my take. Amelia did nothing wrong. Like at all. She was not rubbing her money in his face. She was just paying a business invoice. That is her life. She handled it with way more patience than most people would. She apologized even though she had nothing to apologize for. She tried to reassure him, and she was still honest. You cannot hide who you are in a relationship. If this guy has that much of an issue with his girlfriend earning more than him, that is genuinely something he needs to work through on his own. That is not her problem to fix. She is not the asshole here whatsoever. If anything, I feel bad for her because she is clearly trying to be kind, and he is still making her feel guilty for being successful. That is a bit of a red flag, honestly. 5 months in and already this much insecurity around money is not a great sign. All right, let us jump into story 2. This one is called, "Am I the Asshole for Refusing to Eat My Wife's Spaghetti After I Found Out What She Put in It?" Posted by a guy named Brian on the Am I the Asshole subreddit. So Brian's wife Carly makes spaghetti one night and it smells amazing. She tells him she tried something new and to not ask questions. He sits down, starts eating, and notices it tastes weirdly sweet. He asks what changed, and she admits she blended up 6-day-old leftover spaghetti and mixed it into the sauce to thicken it. 6-day-old noodles blended into the sauce. Brian immediately stops eating. He is grossed out, but he had not said anything yet. Carly gets offended and points out he had already eaten half a plate. So what is the big deal? She says he is being dramatic now that he knows. Brian tells her that is exactly the point. He did not know. He then goes and makes himself a sandwich. Carly flips out, calls him wasteful and disrespectful, says he is acting like she served him garbage. He apologized but still could not finish it. She told her whole family, and they think Brian embarrassed her. But Brian's mom says he was right not to be tricked into eating old food. Bro, okay, I cannot believe this is even a question. 6-day-old pasta blended into the sauce without telling him? 6 days is way past the point where most people would feel comfortable eating pasta. That is like 2 days past pushing it and 4 days into just throw it away territory. And the fact that she told him not to ask questions should have been a warning sign right there. That said, I do not think Carly is a villain or anything. She probably genuinely thought it was fine and got creative with leftovers. But the issue is she did not give Brian the choice. He deserved to know what he was eating. That is just basic respect. You do not get to be mad at someone for not wanting to eat something once they find out the full story. Brian is not the asshole at all. Carly needs to take the L on this one. Real quick, let me just go chop down some more wood over here. I need to stock up on supplies. Nothing too exciting, but you gotta do what you gotta do in survival mode. Okay, story 3 is a wild one. It is called I Fell in Love with My Married Neighbor, and then I babysat his kids. Now I am questioning my feelings. This one was posted by Megan, and it is one of those stories that got so much attention it ended up being compiled as a full update post. So Megan is 34. She just went through a bad breakup and moved in with some friends. She meets her neighbor Kevin, who is married, has kids, and his wife is pregnant. Kevin is described as super kind, funny, attentive with his kids, the whole thing. Megan catches major feelings for him, like she is literally daydreaming about being a stepmom to his children one day. They become friends. They chat on the train together. Everything seems fine on the surface, but Megan is clearly in deep with these feelings. Then Kevin's wife gets into a car accident. Kevin has to fly out to be with her at the hospital, and he asks Megan to babysit their 3 daughters since Megan used to work in childcare. And this is where things fall apart. The oldest kid, a preteen, is described as bratty and disrespectful, muttering rude things under her breath. The middle kid, 8 years old, is arguing about everything. The youngest just follows along with whatever chaos is happening. It gets so bad that at one point during a game of hide and seek, Megan accidentally locks herself out of the house. A family friend eventually has to come rescue the situation. Megan leaves the whole experience shaken. She starts wondering if her feelings for Kevin are even real, or if they were just based on this idealized version of his life she had built up in her head. She realizes she really struggled with his kids and starts asking herself, could she actually handle this if things ever change between Kevin and his wife? Okay, so here's the thing. Megan needs to pump the brakes, like yesterday. Kevin is married, his wife is pregnant and just got into an accident. And Megan is out here daydreaming about being a stepmom. That is a lot. I get that feelings happen and you cannot always control who you catch feelings for. But entertaining those feelings for a married man with kids and a pregnant wife is a road that does not end well for anyone. And honestly, the babysitting experience was probably the most real and healthy thing that happened to her in this whole situation because it snapped her out of the fantasy a little bit. Real life with 3 kids is nothing like the cute train ride conversations she was romanticizing. I think the best thing Megan can do is create some distance, work on herself after the breakup, and redirect that energy somewhere that is actually available to her. All right, let me grab some more supplies real quick. Just running around the world a bit. Nothing crazy going on. Okay, we are good. Let us keep moving. Story 4 is called, Am I the Asshole for Suing My Parents for My College Money? Posted by Priya on the Am I the Asshole subreddit. So this one is genuinely sad and also kind of infuriating. Priya's great aunt in London set up savings accounts for all the female relatives in the family, specifically to fund their education. The reason she did this is because their culture tends to undervalue women getting an education, and this aunt wanted to make sure the girls had a real shot. When the aunt passed away, the money was supposed to go to Priya and her sister. Instead, Priya's parents took the money from the accounts and used Priya's college fund to pay for her brother's lavish wedding. The sister did not care because she had gotten married right after high school and was not planning on going to college anyway. But for Priya, this was devastating. When she checked her account, there was only $13,000 left out of what she was expecting. She confronted her parents and they made excuses. So Priya took out student loans, moved out of the house, and is now suing her parents to get her money back. She has documentation that proves the money was meant for her. Her conservative family is mortified and says she is airing private business and putting money before family. Her American friends say she is completely right. Her brother even offered to pay her tuition if she drops the lawsuit, but she said only if it is legally binding. She is done being polite. Okay, I have to be really honest here. Priya is not the asshole at all. Not even a little bit. Her great aunt set that money aside specifically for the girls in the family to get an education, because she knew the culture would not support them otherwise. That was a gift with a clear purpose. Her parents did not just borrow the money, they spent it on a wedding. And now they have the nerve to call her disrespectful for wanting what was rightfully hers? That is backwards. And the fact that her brother tried to offer to pay tuition without it being legally binding shows he knows he benefited from something he should not have. Priya is completely right to demand it in writing. She learned her lesson the hard way about trusting verbal agreements with this family. Sue them, Priya. Get your money. Your great aunt literally set it up for exactly this reason. All right, story 5. This one is called, Am I the asshole for agreeing to split the bill on a double date which ended in my best friend being dumped? Posted by Ashley on the Am I the Asshole subreddit. So Ashley is 22. Her roommate and best friend Amy is also 22. Amy has been dating a guy named Mike and really likes him. Amy sets up a double date where Mike brings one of his friends as a blind date for Ashley. Ashley is not super into the idea, but she goes along with it. Dinner goes fine. At the end of the meal, the bill comes. Amy immediately says, "Do not worry, our guys have got this," basically implying the men are paying for everyone. Ashley says no, she is happy to split the bill. There is some back and forth. Amy keeps insisting the guys are covering it. Ashley keeps saying she is fine paying her share. The guys awkwardly end up paying anyway. After the date, Amy texts Ashley and says Mike is now ending things with her because Amy had apparently told him beforehand that the girls were going to pay their own way. So Mike feels embarrassed that he ended up paying when the expectation was something else. Amy tells Ashley she ruined the date by not backing her up and says the friendship might be over because of it. Okay, so this one is genuinely whack. Ashley is not the asshole here. She was just trying to be fair and pay for herself. That is a totally normal and reasonable thing to do. The real problem is that Amy told Mike one thing and then tried to do another thing at the table without letting Ashley know. Ashley had no idea there was some prior agreement about who was paying. She walked into that dinner with no information. If Amy wanted everyone to be on the same page, she should have told Ashley ahead of time, "Hey, the guys are paying for us tonight." That conversation never happened. So Ashley just did what a lot of independent people do. She offered to split. And now the friendship is at risk because of a miscommunication that Amy created. That is not fair to Ashley at all. Let me just go dig around for a bit. Need to find some stone for later. The world is looking pretty good so far though. Got some decent terrain around here. Okay, story 6. This one comes from the Am I Overreacting page on Reddit. The post is called Am I Overreacting for Not Wanting to Buy After This Interaction, posted by Jake. So Jake has been wanting to buy a specific monitor for 2 years. He finally finds one on eBay listed at $1,000 with the best offer option enabled. For anyone who does not know, best offer means the seller is literally inviting you to submit an offer below the asking price. That is the whole point. Jake submits an offer of $925. That is only about 7.5% below the asking price. That is not lowballing at all. That is a totally reasonable offer. The seller completely loses it. Calls Jake broke. Says he cannot afford nice things. Just goes off on him for daring to use the best offer feature that the seller himself turned on. Jake stays calm, politely points out that best offer literally exists so buyers can submit offers, and even apologizes for the misunderstanding. The seller stays hostile and rude. Now Jake is torn. He really wants the monitor. $1,000 is actually a fair price for it. But the seller was so rude to him that he does not know if he wants to give this person his money. Honestly, do not buy from him, bro. I know that is hard to hear when you have been wanting something for 2 years, but this is a person who flipped out over a completely reasonable offer that he invited by turning on best offer in the first place. That kind of person is going to be a nightmare to deal with if anything goes wrong with the transaction. What if the monitor shows up damaged? What if you need to return it? Imagine trying to work through that with someone who already called you broke for making a reasonable offer. It is not worth the headache. Find the monitor somewhere else. It might take longer, but your peace of mind is worth more than a faster checkout. All right, let me just hop back into the world for a second. Going to go knock down a few more trees and see what I can find around the area. Okay, I think I am good on wood for now. Let us keep going with the stories. Story 7 is called Am I the Asshole for Asking My Stepdaughter to Move Out? Posted by Lisa on the Am I the Asshole subreddit. So Lisa is 33 and pregnant with her first child. She and her husband Paul live in a 2-bedroom house with Paul's 23-year-old daughter Katie from a previous relationship. Katie has a full-time job but still lives at home. With the baby coming, Lisa and Paul need the second bedroom. They sit Katie down and gently tell her they are going to need the room for the baby and suggest she look into getting her own place. They offer to cover her first 2 months of rent and even help decorate her new apartment. They tried to be as kind about it as possible. Katie gets upset. She tells Paul privately that even with her full-time job, she cannot afford to live alone. Paul caves and tells Katie she does not have to move out. But Lisa is still worried about space. Later, when she is alone with Katie, she tries to bring it up again and offers to help Katie find a roommate or sit down and help her figure out a budget. Katie snaps at her, tells her to leave her alone, and locks herself in her room. Paul comes home and scolds Lisa for pushing it. Now the whole house is super tense, and it is adding stress to Lisa's pregnancy. So this one is a little more layered. I do not think Lisa is wrong for needing the room. She is pregnant, they have a 2-bedroom house, they need that space for the baby. That is a completely legitimate need. And they tried to do the right thing by offering to help with rent and the move. But I think where things got complicated is going around Paul after he already told Katie she could stay. That move put Lisa and Katie in a confrontational spot without Paul there to mediate. And it made Lisa look like the bad guy, even though her concerns were totally valid. The real issue is that Paul backed out of their agreement without really solving the problem. Lisa and Paul need to be on the same page before anyone talks to Katie again. This is a them problem more than a Katie problem. Okay, story 8. This one is called One of My Best Friends Cheated on Her Boyfriend Over the Weekend. They are now engaged, and he does not know. This one is a full update post, meaning we get to see how the whole thing played out, and it was posted by Ethan. So, Ethan's best friend Kiana, 25, has been dating Mason, 26, for 4 years. They are serious and heading toward engagement. One night, Kiana has Ethan over, and at some point she leaves with another guy, one of Mason's own friends. Ethan sees them kiss before she leaves. The next morning, Kiana is gone. This was not some drunk mistake either. It seemed planned. Kiana tells Ethan she has zero intention of telling Mason. Meanwhile, Mason is over here happy as can be, asking Ethan if Kiana has said anything about rings yet. Ethan is sitting there knowing everything and feeling sick about it. He decides he cannot stay quiet. He meets up with Mason for beers and just tells him everything. He shows him the texts, explains what he saw, tells him Kiana said she was not going to come clean. Mason goes quiet for a moment and then says, "Well, I guess I should get tested." He believes Ethan. He thanks him for telling him before the wedding happened. Mason even says he thinks this might not be the first time it happened. They hug. Mason says he is going to confront Kiana when she gets back. Their friendship stays intact. Man, Kiana is something else. 4 years, the guy is out here excited about proposing, and she is sneaking off with one of his actual friends. That is such a deep betrayal on so many levels. And then to have the audacity to tell Ethan she is not going to say anything, and just let Mason walk into a marriage without knowing? That is not okay. Ethan did the absolute right thing. It was probably one of the hardest things he has ever had to do. Telling your friend something like that is not easy, but Mason deserved to know. You do not let someone you care about make one of the biggest decisions of their life based on a lie. Ethan is a real one for that, and Mason handled it with a lot of class too, honestly. That dude is going to be just fine. Going to go find some more materials really quick. Just exploring the area a little bit, seeing what the world has to offer. Okay, back at it. Story 9 is called, Am I the Asshole for Changing My Name Without Checking with My Friend? Posted by Mark on the Am I the Asshole subreddit. And okay, this one is genuinely one of the strangest things I have ever heard. Mark and his wife Linda decide to change their last name before their daughter is born. Mark did not get along with his dad and did not want to carry that family name forward, so they chose a surname from Linda's grandfather's side of the family. They go through the whole legal process, change everything, no drama. Later, they run into Mark's old friend Tom and Tom's girlfriend Emily. They mention the name change, and it turns out Emily already has that exact last name. Total coincidence. Everyone laughs it off in the moment. 2 years go by, nothing happens. Then out of nowhere, Tom blows up at Mark. Apparently, Emily has become extremely upset that Mark and Linda took a name she already has. They accuse Mark of being weird and creepy for not checking Emily's social media before choosing a last name. They demand a sit-down meeting. They want Linda to write Emily a formal letter of apology. Mark shows up to the meeting. Emily apparently berates him, calls him the most inconsiderate person she has ever met, says everyone she has spoken to agrees it is creepy. Mark calmly explains it is a completely common last name shared by tens of thousands of people across the country. Tom starts calling Mark a bad friend for not running the name by them first. Bro, I cannot. Emily does not own a last name. Nobody owns a last name. Last names are shared by thousands and sometimes millions of people. You cannot be upset that someone else has the same last name as you. That is not a thing. And the fact that they waited 2 years to blow up about this, then scheduled a formal sit-down meeting, then demanded a written apology letter from Linda, that is just unhinged behavior. Mark owes nobody an apology. He picked a name that has personal meaning to his family, and it happened to match someone else's by coincidence. That is it. That is the whole story. I feel bad that he lost this friendship, but honestly, a friendship that ends over this was probably not built on very solid ground to begin with. All right, we are getting close to the end. Just 2 more stories. Let me check on my supplies real quick. Okay, I am good. Let us keep it moving. Story 10 is called, Am I the Asshole for Refusing to Drive a Longer Route to Drop Someone Off Because She Did Not Want to Be Alone in the Car with Me? Posted by Tom on the Am I the Asshole subreddit. So Tom is driving his friends home after a night out at the movies and bowling. In the car are his friend Joe, Joe's girlfriend Sandra, and Sandra's friend Amy, who Tom has just met that evening. Sandra asks Tom to drop Amy home too. He agrees, no problem. Tom's route home goes north. His plan is to drop Joe first, then Sandra, then Amy, then head home. It makes geographic sense. But Amy announces she is not comfortable being alone in the car with Tom once everyone else has been dropped off. She does not know him. He is a man she just met and she is uncomfortable. Okay, that is fair enough as a feeling. But here is where it gets complicated. She asks Tom to completely rearrange the drop-off order, drop her first, then drive all the way back south to Sandra's, then come all the way back north again. This would add about 20 extra minutes to what is already a long drive home for Tom. Tom says no. The rest of the ride is super awkward. Amy and Sandra both pressure him. In the end, he drops Amy off first anyway. She slams the door on the way out. The next day, Joe calls Tom and says he should have just done it. Tom refuses to see it that way. Okay, so this one I get both sides of. I genuinely do. Amy's discomfort is understandable. A lot of women are cautious about being alone in a car with someone they do not know, and that is not irrational. That is just reality. I do not think she is a bad person for feeling that way. But I also think asking Tom to add 20 extra minutes to his drive because of a discomfort based on nothing he actually did is a big ask. There is a middle ground here that nobody seemed to reach. Could Sandra have ridden with Amy to her door? Could they have called a ride? I think the breakdown was in how the situation was handled rather than anyone being purely wrong or right. Tom is not the asshole for saying no, but I also understand why Amy felt the way she did. Okay, last one. And this one is heavy, but it has a really good ending. The story is called He Wants to Call Off My Divorce Because My Cancer Treatment Was Successful, posted by David. This one is another full update post so we get the whole story from beginning to end. David was diagnosed with testicular cancer. When he told his husband Brian the news, Brian immediately filed for divorce. He said caring for a sick partner was too much for him. Because of where they lived, there was a mandatory 1-year separation period before divorce could be finalized, so the whole process dragged on for a long time. During that period, David went through surgery and chemotherapy completely on his own, without his husband there. Months later, David got the news he was in remission. No evidence of disease. Somehow, Brian found out. And then, and I need you to really hear this, Brian tried to withdraw the divorce petition. He wanted to stay married now that David was healthy. David said absolutely not. He hired a lawyer specifically to block Brian's attempt to cancel the divorce. He said, and I am paraphrasing here, I do not want to be married to someone who did what he did. The divorce was finalized. David never spoke to Brian again. He describes the years going through all of this as genuinely some of the hardest of his life. But on the other side of it, he came out healthy, with a great new job, and has a big birthday trip planned. He says he is finally free. Man, I do not even know where to start with Brian. You do not abandon your partner when they get a cancer diagnosis. That is not how that works. That is the person you made a commitment to. And then to have the nerve to try to come back the second they are healthy again, like nothing happened? David was absolutely right to block that. 100%. Some things you cannot come back from, and that is one of them. But honestly, what gets me is how David came through it. He went through surgery and chemo without his husband. He navigated a divorce at the same time, and he came out the other side healthy and free and moving forward. That is genuinely inspiring. David won. And that is all the stories for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Honestly, this was a really good session. A lot of wild stuff in this batch. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe if you are new, and send me your Reddit stories because I want to read them. I will catch you in the next one. Later, everybody.